Hello and welcome to this PGA Live CPD podcast. In this episode, we speak to Jay Lasco of Golf Simulators.
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on today.
No worries at all, Jay. And this is something, Jay, that's become very popular, probably over the last 10 years in terms of technology now and instructing with technology. So we're going to pick your brains. We're going to talk technology and what your likes are, what our members should be looking at and maybe paying attention to, from the big brands, the orange box, to the little ones and everything in between. So before we get to that, Jay, can we just kind of deep dive into yourself? How did you get involved in the industry and your journey into golf?
Absolutely. I'd love to share that. And like I said, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So it goes back to when I was a kid. I was, lucky enough to have parents that were involved in golf, and I was very young. I mean, I started out, in the putting group all the way to the 1-holer, 3-holer, and on up, and definitely was an addiction. I was fortunate enough to be dropped off at our club when I wanted to, and I could go out there and play as many holes as I wanted to, and just fell in love with the game and got to play it a lot when I was younger. Unfortunately, paths kind of changed, and I didn't really follow golf much in late high school, but I ended up going to Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, where I would find out that all kinds of PGA guys are there. They have a professional golf management program, and met all kinds of different people from across the country that were set out, to be, professional golfers, or get into, whether it be instruction or running golf clubs, any type of golf management. So met some great people, all kinds of great relationships, a ton of them that I still talk to today. So that was an awesome experience. Got to play quite a bit of golf in college. Lucky enough to walk on to some amazing courses with those guys. As a college student, not being able to maybe pay for some expensive rounds, that was another privilege that I'm very thankful of. And then after college, I actually got into the car business, family business. Really, really busy for, a handful of years, wasn't able to play golf at all, kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. And things settled back down, and I got back into it heavy. The love was back. I had some time, and I come from a background of a lot of technology. So IT technology, computer technology, cameras, I'm into a lot of it. And I use it on, not only a work professional side, but also on a hobby side. So, I had a wealth of experience in this category. And so when I got back into golf, and this was probably a little over 10 years ago, let's say, I was, kind of seeing a few little things out there, and, was kind of fascinated on where they were going. And, so I started to do my research, and sure enough, found, a golf simulator company that would install a golf simulator in my house. And so about 10 years ago, installed my first golf simulator. It was an HD golf simulator. And I was addicted. I mean, honestly, when you're addicted to golf and you're a tech guy, and then you have a golf simulator in your house, it almost becomes a problem. And so at that point in time, I mean, I was just fascinated with it all. Not only was I playing myself and with my family, but also, with the guys that I knew in the industry. They became fascinated with it because, frankly, a lot of PGA professionals don't have technology. It's getting more popular, but it's shocking even today. I'd love to know a percentage that actually do. And so one of them was a Flight Scope representative, actually. And, he said, "Hey, I'm going down to the PGA show, and supposedly they're going to have this new device called the Mevo Plus. And, why don't I bring that back, and you can test it out and everything." And so sure enough, I got my hands on like the first ever Mevo Plus. Like no one had one then. And we talked, and he said, you know so much about all the ins and outs of all this technology, projectors, and, how does it all work? And, everything. He's like, "You should, consult." And I said, "You should." We kind of went back and forth. And so I started doing a couple of videos on YouTube, and I mean, they were really just kind of, setback easy videos. And then it just took off from there. I mean, everybody wanted to see more. And I saw the opportunity, and for the love of golf and wanting to help people, I was shocked how many PGA professionals and, different, whether it be someone that works at a club that's looking to put a simulator in their golf club for wintertime, they were all reaching out looking for help. And, I was willing to help them. And, the level of respect went both ways so much. They were so appreciative that I wanted to continue on. So I tried to, raise up. I was, coming from the tech background. I knew how to make good videos and edit and everything. And that's kind of where the channel was born. But during that time period, it was nice having such a huge jump start on knowing all the simulators, in the space, how the technology worked, the difference between radar and camera and everything else. And so I was really able to dive in fast. And I know a lot about YouTube. So I was able to grow that, at an exponential rate. And then here we are today. I mean, 20,000 plus subscribers, millions of views, talking to people all across the globe. No different than how you found the channel, I'm sure. And it's just been a wild ride. And, having such a love for golf and technology, I just couldn't be happier doing it.
And what I love about the channel, like you said, when I stumbled across it, was that you're very impartial. And there's so many simulators, so much technology out there now, and you could be favorable to one. But what I like about your channel, you give each device a chance. And you give us the pros, the cons to that device, and look at price point. And how hard is that for you? Have manufacturers kind of approached you and said that, can you push our device? Or is that something, one of your traits that you're very clear with? I'm going to keep it quite impartial. I'm going to keep it quite to respect the viewers that are watching the content.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, that's something that, a lot of people have asked that, they said, well, what's your favorite, and I said, honestly, I don't necessarily have a favorite. I enjoy testing the wide array of them, and they fit to each person on such an individual level. That's kind of what made me impartial, like you said, to where I wanted to show everything, because I mean, you're talking about devices from a few $100s to tens of thousands of dollars. And, I thought that it would give the best experience to the viewer, to really see it all. And that's what I try to do. I do some comparisons kind of head to head. If I know it's a good comparison where the devices don't interfere, that's always a worry for me, is I don't want to demonstrate something and have a device have possible interference where it's not given its best shot, so I do some head to head comparisons, but a lot of them are just demonstrations. I'm just showing you how it is. I mean, I grab this unit, I show you how I set it up, and some people don't notice, but the videos are uncut. I do not edit the video. I mean, it's a one-time record, and I think that's built a lot of trust in the viewer that hey, what I'm showing you is what's going on here. It could be different in your environment, and I try to point that out. But I always make sure I talk about the technology itself and what it should be capable of and what I'm seeing. I share the data right on the screen rather than just kind of announcing some numbers. I display the data so they can see that, I'm not misleading anyone in any way. And, the OEMs have been fantastic. I work with a ton of them, and, I try to keep in close communication with them because I want to share feedback, not only from myself, but from all the users in the channel that reach out, so they can improve products. And I don't try to favor one over another. I try to share the feedback with all of them and give them their equal opportunity. And, the ones that have top tier technology or the latest and greatest, or, some new feature coming out, they're going to stand apart on their own. Their product and software and features, when I show them, they're going to earn their own audience based on what it is. So I don't need to be impartial. I don't need to push one more than the other. I really try to space them out and cover everything as it comes out. And I think it's worked out well. I think that's why the channel's grown. Yeah,
exactly that. For our members out there, and maybe just kind of coming into technology, what's the difference for you between the radar and the camera systems? What the kind of benefits of either? Or does one work better outdoors? Does one work better indoors?
So that is something that is, a very, very popular question I get asked, and, they're very unique. So camera systems have the ability to measure things in a very small window, depending on, it could be a single camera system or a dual, or, like the GC Quad is quadrascopic, it has 4 cameras and it's really close to the ball in the club. So they can just understand they can all be set up different. If cameras are further away, they might have more challenges. If they're sitting on the side, maybe they don't have a perspective that one from above does, so they can be all a little bit different. But cameras definitely have an advantage indoor. They can read in a very short space. As long as you can basically swing a golf club safely, most of them will allow you to set them up in that space. Versus a radar unit is tracking the ball. It's actually looking at the club, and a lot of them take certain space to work in properly. All right. Some of them can work in smaller spaces, but there can be some more challenges. As far as indoor goes with radar, some of them can encounter interference, whether it be heavy metal or loud fans, things along those lines. For putting, they usually require like a smooth, longer rollout because the radar is watching the ball roll in a long distance. And then camera, generally, most of them can read that putt within just a few feet. So we would between either a foot or 2 feet, it's getting the ball speed, the ball direction, it's getting all of that measured in a small distance. So then on the positive side for radar, when you're looking to go outside and actually track a ball for full flight, it can do that. And, where a camera system, even though a lot of them will work outdoor and they actually do a great job, they actually have a little benefit that a lot of people look at. It's called normalization, where they're going to give you, all of those data points without the wind factor. But some of them have a built-in barometer and a thermometer. So that calculation they're doing is actually going to give you a somewhat realistic result based on the temperature it's reading, the elevation you're sitting at. But it's not going to see the flight of the ball. So when you're out there at the range, if you're using a radar device, it's doing full ball tracking. There are radars that do shorter, but like the Mevo Plus is a limited flight radar versus if you take the FlightScope X3 or TrackMan 4, it's a full flight radar. They're going to give you probably the most accurate carry outside in that real condition, which some people want to see. If they have a nice steady 5 to 10 mile per hour headwind, they want to see an effect of a ball, when you're out on the course and you have similar wind, it's going to give you a good idea of that, so there's a lot of benefits. They sit behind the golfer. So when you're outside, right or left-handed golfers on the center line, you don't have to move it back and forth. Where indoor, depending on the camera unit that you have, if it sits on the side and you have a left-handed golfer, you might have to move it back and forth. If it's an overhead camera unit or it sits kind of in the sides of the screen, you're not going to have to move it back and forth. So there are a lot of those little factors that you have to consider. And honestly, the list probably goes on from there. I don't want to get kind of too intricate and lose people, but there are positives and negatives, if you want to call it that, or pros and cons to probably every unit out there. And a lot of it starts with budget, and a lot of it starts with your space, or whether it be indoor, outdoor as your primary use. And then, we're talking to the PGA community today. I really have to think you need to understand what you need for your service. So are you just a golf coach working on swings? And maybe you only need ball data or maybe limited club data, or are you a club fitter and you're looking, you need advanced club data, you're working on something specific? You're going to have to ask yourself those questions, and also the environment you're going to be using in, so you get the right device and results.
And you touched on it there a little bit, Jay, around budget. What is your perception, your thoughts on budget devices? Is it something, like you said, it's that dependent on that person's price point, but also what they do, how they coach? Is that something that you would go for maybe as an entry level to kind of test the water with technology at these budget devices?
So that's a conversation that comes up a lot. A lot of people that reach out are like high school coaches, teams, and they're very limited on budget. They might be paying some of it out of their pocket. And then you also have guys that are, sitting at a golf club and they're limited. They only have so much to work with. I would actually say you should strongly look at an entry-level device, depending on what you're trying to do. There are devices as low as like the Garmin R10 unit that's only $599 US. And it's giving some decent results. I think that you have to understand that there's going to be a larger margin of error. It's doing a lot more calculating. But when you step up kind of in that more entry-level, low mid-end, like a SkyTrack unit, or a Mevo Plus unit, or now the Bushnell Launch Pro, even Full Swing, their units coming in a little higher than those, but I think it's $4,000. Those units are actually providing a very decent level of accuracy, and they're providing a lot of useful software and understanding, where you can even have fun with students. A lot of these coaches I'm talking to that are working with junior golfers, when they can take a Mevo Plus and throw it down, connect it to Awesome Golf, which is a very affordable software, and they have games where they can get these junior golfers out hitting boats in the water, they're seeing amazing results. The parents are like, Joey had so much fun, he wants to come back, and as we all know, if you've been in the golf industry long enough, that's so important for the success of the industry, is to keep these young golfers engaged. I mean, I have kids of my own, and that's what they want to do. They want to have fun. And that's how you get them to love the game and grow, into the next level. So I think that whether it be on that level of things, where it be kids and fun, or it be simple as having some data to talk to your student and better understand, what's going on with the golf swing, what's causing the ball to take off a certain direction, what's causing the curvature. It really elevates the experience. And honestly, it makes the coaching more efficient. I was just talking to a friend of mine that's a PGA professional, and he's using a higher end unit. Don't get me wrong, he's using a GC quad, but he said this has just changed everything for me. He's like, I can get some quick data, and we're already working into this lesson earlier than I normally would if I was just to watch so many golf swings and assume what's going on. I'm doing it without video, and we're getting more accomplished in a short period of time. And of course, even if it's an entry level unit you have, if you're providing more, let's say for the junior golfers, whatever it may be, there's more value. I mean, your rate should go up. You've invested in this equipment, and you're providing more to your clients or students, and it deserves a higher rate, and it's probably going to be a return on your investment.
And for that transition for the member who maybe works indoors, works outdoors, what's the battery life on some of these devices like, Jay? Are some of them better than others?
Yeah, so the battery life is going to vary. It depends on what you have, but here's where that almost becomes not an issue. There are so many excellent portable batteries that are hitting the market out there that no matter what device you have, there is a solution. So yes, there are going to be some that are from a few hours and some that are going to be 6 to 8 hours. But if you have one that, let's say, is only a few hours, you can go out and, there's these anchor brands and different brands where you can bring 1 or 2 of those out to the range, and it's going to give you a day of coaching. I mean, you have plenty. And then there's even, if you want to bring out a laptop and you really want to get some power, they're now even making these portable batteries that will give you enough power to run a laptop, a launch monitor, and maybe charge your iPhone for an 8-hour day. And it's excellent. So I wouldn't tell anyone to, worry about battery life. Just know that there's solutions out there.
Yeah, I love that. Brilliant. For you, who's been there from day one with designing and putting a simulator together, what are some of the kind of pitfalls that you came across or you've experienced when people have talked to you about building an indoor studio?
Well, I think that it always starts with space and budget. I mean, it really does. And I know we've touched on those a little bit, but let's just say we take the space and even throw budget out the window. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't have the proper space for a certain unit, it doesn't matter. So I would always just look at your footprint, and I'll kind of give some people some rough, measurements on what I think is like an ideal, single bay simulator. So a 15-foot wide space is going to allow you to have a center tee strike location for a right and left-handed golfer. So that means you're going to put the ball in the middle, and when a right or left-handed golfer goes to hit that ball, you're going to clear a club on both sides without any worry. If you want it a little bit wider, that's great, but just know that 15 is a nice safe spot. You can, however, go down to, I'm going to say, like as low as I've seen people, go maybe 12 feet, whatever it may be, and they call that an offset position. So that's where the ball is actually off to the side, and the software, most software allows you to take the center line that you're hitting from and move it over, because you're now standing, with the ball, let's say 3 feet off from the side of the room. And you can be in an offset bay like that. So don't let that steer you away just because I said 15 feet wide. But ideally, you'd love to have a center strike position. That way, if you had a right or left-handed golfer hitting from the middle. Now, as far as ceiling height goes, this is going to vary a little bit, because if you have a really tall golfer in there, you risk a club going higher. I feel like 10 feet is like kind of optimal. I've had some pretty tall people in, in the GSV studio, and we've never had an issue. So depending on how you have everything configured in there, 10 feet's nice. A lot of people are at 9. I know people as low as like 8. Some guys are doing whatever they can to, cut out a space and clear clubs and everything. But just know that those are some good guides. And then your depth. One, it's going to have a lot to do with safety. I mean, I understand if you put a camera unit down, it's going to read a 2-foot window. Let's say you could hit a ball essentially in a space that almost a driver hits from the back to the front, but you're going to have a ball bouncing back at you, et cetera. So the guideline really is that from that ball, 7 feet behind is kind of a safe measure for most drivers, irons, whatever. You're gonna clear space. It's not gonna feel too tight in there. And then as far as from the ball to either the net or the screen, 8 feet's kind of like a minimal distance, especially for most radars. They're going to need at least 8 feet, probably preferable 10 or 12 if you can. For a lot of radars, it's going to help. But the comfortable space I've found is from the ball to the screen is right about 10 feet. It still feels immersive when you're playing simulation golf, but it is enough distance to where nobody's kind of worried those first handful of shots that a ball is going to come back. And, there's this thing out there called indoor swing syndrome. And you just don't want, somebody coming to your simulator for the first time, they're paying a premium for a lesson, let's say, and they just can't make a normal swing. So, just be mindful of that when you're setting up your space. If you're going all in and you're going to be coaching people and there's going to be a higher hourly rate, give them a comfortable space to work in. You don't want them to feel like they're too, constrained in there, and it could affect, their results.
Yeah, I love that. With the additional information, what you've got and what you've given us there, what kind of other tech would you go for? So like the kind of the mats, the projector, the computer, is there any kind of certain specifications that you'd follow there?
So it's really going to vary. The availability out there as far as turf and mats and everything go right now, it's getting better. I think that the synthetic products are getting better. I actually just did a project with a company called Sin Lawn here in Michigan, and it's amazing how far everything has come. And there are options for everybody. But if you're in a commercial space, I'll kind of give that warning out here now that there may be some softer type options out there. But if you're going to be in a high volume environment, you probably want to look at more of a commercial type mat. It's not going to be as forgiving, but this person's coming in for an hour, they can probably handle a couple fat shots on that type of mat. And yet you're not going to be blowing this thing out, every couple months. So I think you need a very good stance mat. Don't get anything that's, too soft. It needs to be kind of a nice firm stance mat. And then, like I said, be mindful of that hitting area, something that's going to last you a decent amount of time, but is quality. It's not going to be giving off, shreds of material and everything. And then as far as other components go, a screen is very important because, the nicer the screen, they have a lot of these triple layer screens out there. They're quieter, they're softer, so they absorb the ball more. You don't get as much bounce back. So like I said, once again, we're kind of going back into that comfortable feeling. Someone's never been here. They're scared to hit a ball into a screen. There are other things you can put up, like curtains in case you get a stray ball. They'll grab the ball. Baffles you can hang on your ceiling that could grab a high wedge shot, whatever it may be. So all of that, is pretty important. Projector, here's another budget thing. Understand that you don't need a $5,000 4K projector. I show some of them in the channel. They're amazing. And do a bunch of people buy them? Yes. But there is some awesome, 1080p, decent lumens, projector that you can put in a golf simulator and have a pretty darn good image. It's actually that professional I was just talking to, he has just an entry-level enclosure with a projector that I think was like $600 or $700 US used on eBay. And he's knocking out lessons all day long. And the people love it, and it works just great. So, understand that you can make things work. And what I always tell people is if you can build a foundation, if you can build that room, you get the cords set up, the power, the turf, whatever it may be, you can always swap out these components and upgrade at any time. And that's something I should really touch on as far as launch monitors go. When you're looking at them, some of them you can buy without club data. And so you can get into this launch monitor, get solid ball data. And then when, you're starting to make some money from lessons, you can add club data, or you can add putting data or additional, whatever it may be for that launch monitor. It might be software. So, know that you might want to keep an eye on something that you can get into at a certain price that has add-ons available, and it might help your, budget plan.
I told people you were going to be good, Jay. Absolutely blowing me away, sir, blowing me away. And that's the key, because it's an expense, isn't it? It's a huge expense. This could be a huge expense for members out there, and you've got to get it right, because as you said, if you don't have the right space or the unit to fit the space, you've wasted a lot of money and you've got to do a lot of adjustments.
But keep in mind, it's an investment, and trust me, this local pro that spent probably close to $20,000, on the unit he has. I mean, I think he was nervous, it was an investment for him, and he branched out on his own. He was working at a golf club at the time, and he's booked solid, Monday through Friday. And it took some time. It took some awareness. He had to send emails out and kind of get the referrals coming and everything else. But one thing that I'll point out that he told me just the other day that really resonated was that he's seeing a higher rate of rebookings than he's ever seen before. And that, I think, is huge. So these people want more. They're seeing data, they're coming back, they're working on different things. He was telling me how he'll even set up, some drills for them, and he'll find out that, hey, from 60 yards in, you're actually pretty bad. You're missing a lot. You're distant. You can't hit 60 yards. But from 100, I noticed you're hitting the green every time. You should start laying up to 100 yards until we can get your short game a little more dialed in. So he's giving them strategy, and they're seeing it. All kinds of neat things. Another thing he shared with me that I thought was really cool is that what you can't do on a range outdoor is that he'll turn the projector off, and he'll say, hey, I want you to hit 5 of this, 5 of this, and 5 of this. And then they'll turn the projector back on, he'll show them the data, and they'll be pulling everything to the left, let's say. And what would happen is if he did that with the projector on, or if you were out at a range, our natural instinct is to try to correct the balls that are going left. So I'm an amateur, I think that this is what's going on. And he doesn't want that. He wants to see their natural swing. And then he's going to show them what's going on. They're going to make changes. And then he makes those changes, and then they see the results. And it becomes addicting as a player. It really does. And it's great for the coach to be able to give that value, and they walk away with more understanding. And it's really fascinating.
Absolutely amazing. Love it. On your channel, Jay, you've done a lot of videos away from the simulators as well, more towards the other technology that's becoming apparent, such as putt view. How far is that going to go, do you think? Are we moving more into the short game side of simulation now as well?
I think we are. Putt view is another piece of technology that I saw it for the first time, and then I kind of talked to the founders and was very interested. But at the same time, I was almost timid to really think if it was going to help my game or not. And I even had people reach out after that said, hey, you can't transfer those lines to the course. That's a big investment when you can't take it out on the course and actually apply it. And so I got it and started using it a lot, and I covered all the different drills and everything. And what I try to do, which I'm fortunate enough to be able to have that a lot of people can't, is I try to go down and just hit like 20 or 30 putts, like every other day if I can. I'm lucky if I do that, but let's just say that I could get down there and I could just, hit 30 putts, every few days. I'm working on my setup. I'm working on these putts that actually matter for most people inside 10 feet, not out there hitting putts that, you're wishful thinking of sinking 20-foot putts. And when I go out on the course now, I visualize more. I actually feel myself looking at my feet and saying, this feels a little different, like I'm not lined up right. Where before I would kind of walk up to my ball and just feel comfortable and maybe hit it. And I think it's got me thinking more. So as much as, the one guy that made that comment, I actually appreciated that he made it. The lines do transfer to the course because you have instinct. You remember what it looks like and what it feels like when you're putting your feet on those lines every single time. That way, for instance, what the biggest thing it helped me with is I would have the ball too centered in my stance, and I noticed my angle of attack on putting was poor. I was working with my coach on this, and we had a launch monitor and putt view, both is what we were doing, and we were hitting putts, and we made some adjustments. We slid my feet over a little bit and changed some things, and I can apply it on the course. My putts are rolling better. So I'm a big fan of putt view. I really am. And I think that there's a lot of other technology out there that is going to start capturing all of that data and applying it not only for coaching, but maybe it is for an amateur user. And between like TrackMan and I think GC Quad are the two probably most popular, they provide putting data. And these coaches that may have never even really given a putting lesson other than some basics are now looking at, path and face and angle of attack and all these data points, and actually really fitting people for a putter, or giving them some big changes that are helping them, get a smoother roll, a more consistent stroke, whatever it may be. And they don't need whatever it is, $20,000 high end, putting system to do that. So it's really cool where things are going in that end.
Amazing. You talked about where things are going. A lot of our colleagues within the PGA went to the show this year, and they said it was just full of simulation and full of technology. How the times have changed from the big manufacturers now to the simulation and the technology being a part of that. What's next, Jay? What trends are you seeing maybe in the next few years, and what are we going to be seeing, and what are we going to be using?
So the biggest trend I would have to say that I'm seeing right now is that you're seeing commercial facilities open up. They're opening up not only for entertainment, but also instruction. And even your golf clubs or even your golf courses are starting to put these in their facilities, and now starting to golf year round. I mean, I talk to these guys all the time. I mean, it's a revenue stream for them. They're giving lessons in the wintertime when normally they would be doing nothing. They actually have people doing leagues at their golf courses and clubs, and they're buying food, they're buying drinks, they're at the club year round. They were closed for several of these months before. It's now a revenue source. They paid these things off. I mean, they're making good money. And so I think that's a big movement. I think that in the PGA world, whether you're a coach, an instructor, kind of the same thing, but whether you work at a golf course or golf club, I think that more and more are going to understand that this technology is going to make their work easier. It's going to make golf fun. It's going to get people more involved. And I think that things are just going to get hypercharged. I think you have a lot of great OEMs in the space. They're inventors. I mean, they are innovators of measuring data, and they all want to do it better and better. And they're going to take this software and progress it. I mean, you see how where games and everything are going, whether it be PlayStation and Xbox. Well, what do you think they're going to do with golf simulation? It's going to follow the same thing. They want it to be as real as it gets. They want to have fun experiences. And I think that you're going to see just kind of a whole new category of golf. Not that you don't have it now, but I'm talking on more of a widespread, area. If you look at some of these OEMs that are doing these virtual leagues online, they even have professional leagues where it's $1,000 to join, and you can go out and play at a facility that's a registered facility, and that way, everything's within the rules. Let's call it. But I mean, this is the real deal. I mean, you saw some, COVID was a blessing in disguise, for this industry and where technology was. I mean, the sales just took off, the interest took off, people were stuck indoor. And now I think they're going to be able to transition that to everyday life and everyday work. And it's really awesome. It grabbed everyone's attention that probably, you wouldn't have been able to get those people's attention nearly as easy before. So a little blessing in disguise there, but yeah, I see some great things coming. I think that you're going to get data points that you've never seen before, as far as the coaching and instruction side. The ease of use is huge. I think they all understand that people want to be able to use an iPhone or iPad and just go into any space and set something down and be able to use it, whether it be out on the range or in your facility. So I think it's going to get easier. I think they're working on trying to make things more affordable. I mean, you're talking about systems back in the day, when FlightScope introduced their radar in the mid 90s. I think the lowest price one was close to 10 grand. And then their flagship unit was $100,000. I mean, come on, who's doing that maybe other than a major club manufacturer? And now you have units giving you precise data, let's call it in the $3,000 to $10,000 range per precise data. And you could do club fitting with a lot of these units. And that's amazing. It shows you where it's going.
Yeah, you touched there on where it's going. Have you experienced VR yet of the kind of virtual reality stuff, and how is that maybe going to change golf as well?
So I have done VR in various cases, in the gaming world. I've tried it, kind of in the virtual reality space world. And I've even messed around with, the PGA 2K21 video. Well, you can actually do virtual reality for that. It's interesting where you're standing on the course and looking around. I don't know if you could quite apply that to the simulation space, because I just think of like spatial disorientation and not being able to really see what's going on. I think there could be some fun things going with it. I thought it was pretty cool where FlightScope was going with that augmented reality. I once again, how it can be applied, my finger's not quite on it yet, but you can see what they're trying to do. I mean, these people are innovators. They're looking for the next thing. They're trying to embrace everything that's available out there. And yeah, I think you're going to see some of that. And where it exactly will end up, I can't tell you today. I'd have to see the future. But I'm really excited, and I'll be following it closely. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, because if it's new, innovative, and cool, odds are we're going to be covering it.
And that's what I was just about to say. If you're interested, you've enjoyed the conversation as much as I have today, go and check out Jay's channel. It's golf simulator videos, absolutely superb content on there. And as I said at the start of the conversation, what I love about the channel, it's impartial, it's informative. And as Jay said, he's going to give you all the latest information in a way that you can digest and then make a decision on your technology purchases as well. So Jay, thank you so much for your time. And again, thank you for everything you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. Keep it going.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to be a part of anything in the future.
Super. Jay, thank you so much again. And thank you everybody out there for listening, and we'll see you again soon.